What's up, y'all? This is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video. Today, I'm recollecting about a big festival. I guess you could call it a festival. I don't really know what you would call it because it's not like in a big area. It was more just confined to this tiny little bar, but considering the lineup, the huge kind of pull of it, I guess you could call it a festival, but I went to Barely Breathing out in Bethpage, New York. I believe this is the second year they've been doing it. Really great setup. And it was interesting going to a new spot that I've never been to. I've never been to Long Island. Just discovering new places is always kind of cool. It was a nice little town. So, and saw some really great bands. So, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, I had heard about this for a while. Like Saturday, there was so much stuff going on. Originally, I was gonna go see Death Grips at this College Street. Not a big fan of College Street. I've seen Death Grips before, and they were really good. I had a good time. It was up in Worcester, but it's always expensive at College Street. The audio, the sound is always hit or miss. I saw Ministry there; it was very good, but that's because Ministry, I believe, was using their own touring sound people. So, I really don't think it sounds that good usually. And Death Grips probably brings their own kind of people, but it's just for the cost. It was probably like $70 after all the convenience fees and everything. It didn't make much sense. But there was stuff going on all over the place. And what caught my eye about this festival was Connecticut, ever since like a lot of our venues that would, be catered to this kind of music have been shutting down, mostly because you usually found this stuff at like house venues, in particular Whitney House out in Hartford on South Whitney Avenue, which was actually a house. People lived there. And it kind of went through all these different generations, but at its height, we would have these crazy like all day grind fests and a bunch of different kinds of bands and stuff. And you had bands coming out of Whitney House that would become pretty big in their kind of circles, like Misanthropic Noise. But that kind of dried up over the last bunch of years since Whitney House stopped being a thing. House shows are really kind of rare. There are a couple that pop up, but I always notice, like, unless they're more towards like the noise and acoustic indie kind of scenes, they don't last long. Usually through a variety of factors, I've witnessed that they just kind of go away pretty quickly. So I was interested in going out to it. Grindcore shows in particular have really been regulated to this like weird kind of space where they usually happen in a weird part of the state or the country that you've never heard of otherwise. There was one in Vernon, I believe, Connecticut, which I don't know where the hell that is. I looked it up and it was not near anything. It's usually like something off the beaten path. But this seemed doable. Bethpage, I did my research into it weeks ago, trying to figure out, is this doable? And it was. Luckily, the town is right on the Long Island Railroad line, which really sold me. I'm like, all right, so this seems doable. Just so took a chance, and there's a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time. Most importantly, Haggus, which is a friend of mine, Tom, who used to be in Misanthropic Noise and a couple of bands around Connecticut. One of the first dudes I met within like the Connecticut kind of scene. Um, they're always killer. I've caught them quite a few times throughout the years. They played Crunch House once. Usually caught them at like the Dump or Whitney House. The Dump was another venue we had. Well, not a venue. It was another house that we had in Manchester for a while. People lived there who used to live at Whitney House. Members of Gowl, Misanthropic Noise, kind of the respective bands that grew off of that. We had some really solid shows there. Seatstar Sept, Pizza High Five, Deterioration played there, Test from Brazil, Agitate. Really great lineups. RoboCop. A lot of cool stuff came through there. But you don't see this stuff around Connecticut, and I haven't traveled a lot the last couple of years past like COVID times, so this was an opportunity get out there, see some new spots, kind of get a different environment to take in, because you see Connecticut, you see this part of Connecticut that I'm in like every day for like a decade at this point. It's just you become numb and you just get tired of it. So, yeah, so I decided to do that. I got some money together. Um, you know, did the, got the ticket. Ticket wasn't bad. It was like 25 if you got it in advance. I think they were doing like 30 at the door, which would have been fine as well. But, I've been getting everything in advance, and it worked out because you buy the ticket, and then I was able to figure out like the train costs. So that worked out. So my plan was to go from here early in the morning, from here to Grand Central, and then jump from Grand Central onto the Long Island Railroad line, and worked out perfectly. And I actually did enjoy the Long Island Railroad line. It's kind of more comfortable than the Metro North. The seats are better. The lighting, I don't know why, but the lighting just seemed better. There's a lot more cars. It's just much more of a comfortable situation on that train. So that was nice. Went by pretty quick. Pretty enjoyable ride. And Bethpage is interesting. I really like it there. So when you get off the train, it's just a long road that's like a long neighborhood, a lot of very suburban, very upstate New York kind of feel. I've never been through that area. I mean, anything outside of New York City is usually considered upstate. It seemed very nice, very quiet. Not a lot of people out. I was a bit worried about getting harassed by the cops at late at night walking back to the train station. Luckily, that did not happen. I didn't really see any cops in general around the area, which was nice. So yeah, you go down this long road, and then I got to the main road. It's a turnpike. I can't remember the name of it. I should have memorized all this, but it almost reminds me of Boston Post, Route 1, which I'm very close to. Just had that kind of vibe. It was a little more scaled down. It wasn't as long of a stretch. But there was a lot there. They had a giant Target, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, your basic things like that. Had a lot of, fast food eateries, a couple of diners. The diner next door to the venue, I took a picture of the signage. I just really like signage, and it just looked really cool to me, so I took a picture of that. And the venue that this was held at was called Mr. Beery's, which I really kind of like their vibe, man. The people there, working there, doing bartending and everything seemed very nice, very personable, which is, you know, welcome in a bar because around here people kind of can be a bit elitist at bars. Not going to name any names, obviously. Um, and getting there, it's between like a gas station and a kind of little area where they have like a couple of fast food places. So I ended up getting Jersey Mike's, which was a mistake. That is some fatty fucking food. I mean, it's better than Subway by any stretch, but I don't think I'd ever eat there again. Um, so I got the sandwich. Show was supposed to start around like 1 o'clock. I believe it probably started closer to 1:45. So bands started kind of like going on later. There was a few delays in between. It did get kind of caught up throughout the day. The problem is like after 9 or 10 o'clock, I gotta get back to the train station to get back to Grand Central because I don't want to get home at like 3 or 4 in the morning because I'd been up since 5 o'clock just to catch the original train out there. So I wanted to time it right. Unfortunately, missed a few bands. Bowel Erosion, kind of bummed I missed them. I was kind of interested in hearing them. Not really that familiar with them. Couple Skate, really wanted to see. Didn't catch them. Suppression, probably one of my favorite of that, like, kind of, I would consider them more of a grindcore band, but they do have like a very close connection to like the power violence scene of the early 90s. Would have loved to catch them. Didn't. And Haggus headlining. I mean, I've seen them, so it wasn't the worst, but would have loved to catch their set again. I saw some footage online, and it looked like a real good time. But what I had seen was a ton of fun. The people that I hung out with were very cool. Some of them I've known for a long time. Met a lot of new people. Met a lot of people that I've dealt with through buying records and following their bands online and stuff. And had some really great conversations. Some really awesome people. But yeah, it was just a real good day. It was kind of hot, but luckily, as I said, there was a gas station nearby, so I loaded up on waters and vitamin waters, and just was hydrating like crazy all day. Um, so that worked out pretty well. I want to dive into the lineup because that's kind of the bulk of this is just the insane amount of bands that were playing. Just all of them solid. Some newer names that I've been aware of for quite a while, but like, I haven't actually got the chance to see. So this was definitely like a showcase for some very cool modern grindcore that I wouldn't be able to see otherwise. So opening up was Ziplock. I believe they were added pretty recently. I believe it was like a few days before the actual show. This is a band from Providence, Rhode Island, featuring a friend of mine, Josh Marcy, on bass. Pretty solid grind, intense kind of shit. Really dug them. Pretty quick sets all the way through the day. Like a lot of these bands, I doubt they had more than a 15-minute, 20-minute set. They're really great. Calloused Minds, I did catch. I don't really remember much of their set, but they were pretty solid. I gotta check out more of their stuff. Fast, chuggy kind of Classic stuff. I did not catch Liquified Inside besides like early on I was kind of missing a lot of this stuff. It was kind of, I was getting acclimated to the venue. Did a lot of merch early on in the day, got all that out of the way, and then kind of got shirts throughout the rest of the day. It was really, really cool, like kind of setup in the back. Dug it. It was good hangs. Spent a lot of time chatting with different people. Most importantly, Haunted Hotel Records, who I have ordered from in the past. I ordered a few Agathocles reissues from them, and they were very cool. Turns out one of the guys running the booth, I don't know if he was part of the label, whatever, but he was involved in a band called Iron Butter, and it was funny how that came up because I was just randomly talking about it. There's a few split 7 inches that I really enjoyed with them on it, particularly the split they did with Archagothus. And guy behind me was like, "Oh, I was in that band." We just started shooting this shit about the history of that band and different releases and stuff, and that was very cool. And their table was just loaded with tons of really great shit. Didn't buy a lot, I just got a few records. I'm gonna show those in the probably in a couple of days, the upcoming Stop, Watch, and Listen episode. I'll talk about those, what I picked up for records. Shot the shit a lot with Josh. Hung out with a friend of mine who plays in Squashed Beef and Gas Station Dick Pill. Solid dude. Known him for years. He was in a couple of death metal bands and heavy grindcore kind of bands when I first met him. So hanging out with him was cool. The pit inside was like amazing all day. Like these fans and like everybody was really going off, and you had a bunch of people filming. There's a lot of great footage online already, Instagram and YouTube and everything. Like there was a lot going on. And it was just a good time, very welcoming, very open-minded, and just having fun. Very accommodating towards everybody. Yeah, it was a good vibe throughout the day. The next band, R.O.T.W.L.C.F.T.S.C.R.M.H, I believe, is like how it's kind of abbreviated, but it's a long kind of acronym. They were really fun, really fast. The problem I have with describing a lot of these bands is they kind of blend together. You kind of gotta find them for yourself. In the description below, I'm gonna link a lot of these bands and maybe a release, and just so you can go and find them yourself and check it out, because it's grindcore. There's not a lot of like variety throughout it. Some of these bands definitely do stand out with their kind of gimmicks and sound, but a lot of them do kind of get mixed in, and you kind of got to witness it yourself. It's kind of hard to describe without kind of sounding redundant, but I really enjoyed them. Electric Bath I did enjoy. Don't really remember much of their set, but they were very good. Rotbus is a band I've been seeing their logo everywhere. It's very much in that Agathocles kind of font, the mincecore kind of stuff. They were amazing. Really great drummer. I believe they were a 2-piece. There was a lot of 2 pieces, a lot of just guitar and drums. It's the typical kind of grindcore kind of setup for those kind of bands. It's just like, just get it out there, really like fast and chaotic and infinitely danceable, though. We were going hard all day, and it was just a ton of fun. Rotbus definitely has that classic mince grind, great vocals throughout. And just really solid band. The main, the singer guitarist in it, Jay, I believe his name is. I started following him on Instagram. Really cool dude. Shot the shit with him a lot. Really, really fun dude to chat with. Just everybody there was like very cool. Um, chop 7 times. Chop. I don't. I'm horrible at remembering how many times I say that when I say his name. He was very solid. I see him all the time. He's a local kind of guy. Jumps on a lot of local shows. Real good dude. Shot the shit with him for a little bit as well. Zach, I believe he used to have a hip hop project as well that I saw a couple of years ago. Very solid at that. Just really great at doing like the one man noise grind. Um, Kind of a cool gimmick for him is like he always has like either like a pot, um, like a big like kind of cooking pot filled with a bunch of like different silverware, and he throws a couple of contact mics in there and just makes this like chaotic noise out of it. At different points in his set. I believe I believe on Saturday he used a more of a metal garbage can, so it was like a bigger kind of thing. He was really good. I cut a couple of songs. Usual chaotic fun time watching him. After him was I hate trying to pronounce this. Houkago. Grind Time. I enjoyed this. It's a guy from, I believe he's in Rip to Shreds, kind of death metal band. I don't really know a lot about. A lot of modern death metal just kind of goes over my head. This was his kind of like anime kind of inspired grind project. The gimmick did nothing for me. I'm not really into the whole like anime grindcore kind of thing. Which is a lot of my kind of prejudice. I kind of link that in with a lot of that like porno, sketchy kind of grind stuff that I'm not a fan of. Yeah, it just that usually doesn't do anything for me. But he was very good at performing it. Um, you know, uh, Real good sound. It's typical kind of gore grind kind of sound and stuff. Fast shit. Solid set. It just wasn't really like my favorite thing of the day by any stretch, but really did enjoy it. Moisturizer, I've seen before. They're from, I believe, from Rhode Island. Just incredible fucking band. I saw them once before in Basement. Dave Hulk's old basement. I can't remember what he was. This was probably still Microbe Manor, but I can't remember what he was calling it at the time. And that was like a week before COVID, the lockdown went into effect. So seeing them again was very cool. Put on a real solid set. Um, uh, Up next was Hallucination Realized, one of the bands I was really excited to see because I've had their split with Exposed as Rot for a very long time. Whenever that came out, I was just all about it. Exposed as Rot was great. That was John from Misanthropic Noise and Kyle from Gowl on drums. Just solid, just fast gore grind kind of inspired stuff. Hallucination Realized is more of like kind of they are very much a grindcore, very chaotic, very noisy, but there is a very good amount of harsh noise, power electronics, um, kind of a little bit of like that early kind of sludge kind of sound that's more put in with like kind of power violence circles. They used a lot of that very well. Solid band. The singer is a maniac. He has his whole like kind of power electronics set up at the front of the stage and was performing off stage on the ground and kind of just moving around with everybody. He was really involved in the pit, which was really fun to see. Really good dudes in that band. Definitely a standout band from that day. Uh, the next couple of bands I didn't really catch a lot of. Urine Cop from Japan. I did enjoy what they were doing. I just kind of was um, coming down from a lot. I was pretty beat by this point. I'd been up since like 5 o'clock. By this time, it was like I think around like 7, maybe even going on 8. Um, and with all the bands getting moved around and stuff, just kind of threw me off a bit. Urine Cop was supposed to go on later, but they switched with Lieutenant Dan because I believe they came from Japan, so they had to get back to catch a flight probably, which is rough. I can understand that. Mierda, band I believe I've seen before, more of a hardcore kind of vibe, hardcore punk, just straight up kind of stuff. Didn't really, you know, speak to me as much. I think I just completely missed their set, but they're pretty good. I've gone back and listened to a couple of their releases in the last couple of days, and they're pretty solid hardcore punk kind of stuff. It's just sometimes with the mixed bills, when you throw stuff like that in there, it just kind of goes over my head a bit because I'm in such a mode, in such a zone, checking out all these different grindcore bands. That's kind of the mindset that I'm in, going through all this stuff. But the standout band, and I unfortunately left like right after they played because I really wanted to just get home and just kind of decompress. And just my luck, I still didn't get home for a few more hours. But Lieutenant Dan, and very cool fucking band. I've known about them for years. I really love their split with R.O.T.W.L.C.F.T.S.C.R.M.H, and they were also on a 4-way split with Satan, Poison, Pizza High Five, and Violent Gorge. And that's two really great releases. And I've always known about them. They've got a really goofy kind of name, but I always like their sound. It's very straight up mince grind, interesting vocal kind of style. A little bit of that like ghosty, like kind of melodic sense to it. Really fun. This the singer guitarist, I don't remember his name, but I'm gonna link his Instagram down in the description. Really cool guy. They're out of Detroit, Michigan, and he was talking about how his kind of day job is going around and fixing up these like kind of vintage style kind of displays and signages and everything like that. He was talking about how there was like a piece like right above where the outdoor area of the venue was. You could see. He's like, yeah, I work on stuff like that, and I'm just like, he was just so like fascinated by it, and that was kind of cool to see because I've definitely been on like an architectural aesthetic kind of thing lately. I've been taking a lot more pictures of kind of interesting signage and architecture that I've been coming across, and just very cool, and shooting the shit with him, talking about old shows and gigs and stuff like that. Just really cool dude. Yeah, it's just another example of some really great people that I ran into throughout the day. And I took off like right after they finished. Was trying to time it perfectly to get back without too much of a headache, but unfortunately that didn't work out. Not going to go too much into detail about that because it's not really relevant to the video at all. But all in all, I had a really great time. I really like the town of Bethpage. Could definitely see if this is like a reoccurring kind of festival they have there, and going there once a year, checking that out. Saw some real good friends, met some real awesome people, got a nice picture taken with John from Misanthropic Noise and Exposes Rot, a few other bands, and Seth from Gowl, who I've been friends with these guys for years. got to catch up with them and have a nice, long conversation with them. Just all together, just a really fun day. Was happy to get out of Connecticut for a while and just kind of get a different type of, culture, civilization. It's just very cool. Um, and the bar was solid. Sometimes these like little like small town bars. This wasn't small town, but comparatively, um, they got a crummy vibe, but this was definitely a well planned show, and the bartenders there were very cool. The organizers were awesome, very accommodating to the bands and also to the fans. Very willing to communicate with you, and they were into it just as much as all of us, and that is the vibe that I definitely want to get from these kind of shows. You always hate seeing like security guards like bored out of their minds. Um, the kind of stuff you would get with a bigger kind of promoted uh, kind of event. Um, this was definitely just like a community, just a real good time. Very cool. Just had a great time, and just it stands out. It's been a pretty decent year for shows. There's a lot coming up. I mean, the last couple of weeks they've dropped a lot of cool announcements for stuff coming up. So get excited about a lot of that. And yeah, so as I said, down in description, I'm gonna have a ton of links to other um, channels promoting this stuff. Have some links to some distros that I found throughout the day. Um, all the bands, some like clips from their music that I can find on YouTube. Just a lot of that kind of stuff. And per usual, I talk about I promote my Instagram, and this is definitely the most important video to do that in because I posted a lot from that day. So about four different posts, kind of broken up by subject. You know, showed what I got, a couple of pictures with friends, and some very cool stuff. So if you want to check that out, I'm on social media, Instagram, under the Hordes of Manzerfaust. And that'll about do it. Usual like and subscribe, comment. Comments are always welcome. If you were at the show and we shot the shit or something, get at me in the comments. Just like I said, a lot of really cool people, great vibe. Um, really loved a lot of the bands playing. Didn't catch like everybody's set, but what I saw, I had a really good time with, and yeah, so very very cool weekend. And can't wait to see if they do it again next year for a third year. Very cool. So yeah, that being said, this is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video, and stay fucking metal.